Welcome to Best of Three. I'm Barry Delgado, and I'm here to serve you guys something new. I'm just gonna call it fusion, um, but it's gonna be Snivy, the whole Serperior line, and Mega Alakazam. I thought two rivals, kind of like Goku and Vegeta, just kind of merged together and made one awesome fucking being, which is just pretty cool homebrew deck. It's won me, consecutive best out of threes. You just gotta, you gotta push really hard sometimes just to pull it off, especially against item lock. But it's so, I mean, it's about, I want to say about a 70-30. When you start off, with a shaman, of course. But it's usually about 80-20. Generally, it's the odds are pretty much in your favor. But let's jump right into it. We're gonna be running 4 copies of Snivy. 1 grass energy, you attack for 10 and you get to heal 10. But that attack you'll never use, hopefully, because we're gonna be running 4 copies of Servine with awesome ability, flip coin. If heads, leave your opponent's active Pokemon paralyzed, which is pretty powerful, especially if forest of giant plants. Just evolve straight into it and just hopefully get that first, second turn knockout. 1 grass energy, hits for 20. It's still doing terrible amount of damage, but what we're looking for is for the Serperior. Once it jumps right up to that 140, coil for a colorless, hits for 40, and then the next turn, both of your attacks do 60 more. So you can keep coiling for an additional 60, which will keep doing 100, unless you get Lysandered out, of course, or escape roped. But you can keep doing coil. Like I said, it will keep doing 60, and then you can choose to use Slashing Strike for 80, or you can wait to use it for 140 after you coil. But you can only use Slashing Strike every other turn, so that kind of, it's good and it's bad, what have you, That is what we're going to be running as far as the Snivy line. 444. I don't really want to do the 424. No rare candies. We're going to be running 2 copies of Alakazam EX with suppression. You can easily use Dimension Valley for 1 psychic energy and a colorless. Suppression, put 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that have energy on it, which is pretty good for, what it's worth. And then we're going to be running 2 copies of the Mega Alakazam with Zen Force. It hits for 10 base damage, and then it hits for 30 for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon, which is pretty powerful, because Mega Alakazam is pretty much the finisher in this deck. You just kind of spread damage here and there with the Serperior, and then you just kind of finish it off with the Mega. Pretty good stuff. And he's only got 1 retreat cost too, so the Mega does, so it's pretty good. We're going to be running 2 copies of the Shaman with the setup ability, and I'm pretty sure by now everybody knows Sky Return is pretty powerful. It hits for 30, and you jump back right up into your hand, and all cards attached to it as well. And then setup, you can consistently draw, hopefully, but we only run 2 copies just because more often than not, you're going to Sycamore a lot of stuff away pretty quickly. And then we're going to be running 1 copy of Jirachi promo. Hits for 10. And if your opponent's active Pokemon has a special energy attached to it, it discards a special energy, and then pretty much it can't attack. Nothing can pretty much affect your Jirachi next turn, which is pretty good. 60 hit points is not really great, but it's just kind of thrown in there just in case. We're running 1 copy of Smeargle, just because more often than not you're going to run into only having a psychic energy on, or a grass energy, kind of just like vice versa on something, and you kind of just need to go through your discard pile and switch that shit out. So pretty good. Onto our items. We're going to be running 2 copies of Super Rod, basically allowing you to shuffle 3 of any combination of Pokemon or energy back into your deck. We're going to be running 2 copies of Max Potion, which pretty much heals your whole it heals all damage off your Pokemon. Of course, you got to discard energy, but it's a really low energy count in this deck, and it's a low energy count just to attack, so it's pretty easy to just discard stuff and get it right back. We're going to be running 3 copies of Trainer's Mail just to look at the top 4 cards of your deck and, you know, find out your trainer, reveal it if you may, and play it. Like I said, pretty consistent, which is kind of surprising because I thought, well, I thought it's something new that people should just start trying, because it's just everybody's doing the same old, you know, top tier decks, and it's just maybe start fusing them together, seeing if we can cause some kind of ruckus. We're going to be running 4 Ultra Balls, of course, is pretty much a staple in all decks. Discard 2 cards from your hand and search for a Pokemon. Odds are it's going to be a Servine, or a Mega Alakazam, or a Shaman. So 4 copies is always good. Our tools is really low. We only run 2. We're running 2 copies of Floatstone to slap on to get whatever is in the active out, because nobody has Free Retreat, so that's kind of lame. But I mean, going up type matchups, I mean, a lot of decks are weak to Grass, and a lot of decks are weak to Psychic. So pretty good stuff. And we're going to be running 1 copy of Professor's Letter just in case you can't find what you need. Like I said, it's a pretty low energy count in this deck, so nothing wrong with some training wheels. And then we're going to be running 1 energy retrieval just in case you have to Sycamore first off, first turn. Terrible, but it happens. Onto our supporter lineup, pretty easy. We're running 4 copies of N, which you and your opponent both shuffle your hand into your deck, and then you draw the respective prize cards that you each have. It's either good in the first part of the game or towards the last. It can either make or break you. I think 4 is the magic number, just because I'm running 3 copies of Sycamore, which you get to discard your hand and draw a fresh 7. If you end up with 3 Sycamore in hand and an N, it's just something you have to do. You have to end. Like, you can't waste, you know. It's happened more times than not that I've had inconsistent draw power, but the N really comes in clutch, and it saves lives. It really does. And I mean, this deck is really fun. So, N belongs there. We're running 1 copy of Lysander. Anything more than that is just too much. Especially in this deck because it's such a low supporter count. We're going to be running 1 copy of Hexamaniac, basically leaving both you and your opponent without abilities for a whole turn, which means Item City. Just going crazy on items, because when you get item locked, it's just something. It comes in clutch. If you top deck that and you're item locked and you have like a handful of items, it comes in handy. We're going to be running 1 AZ, mainly just for a Shaman. I mean, if you have to, scoop up, your Pokemon, discard everything else, because it's just as easy to get rid of, or to get back, energy or what have you. And then we're going to be running 1 copy of Misty's Determination. Basically, you just discard a card, you look at the top 8 cards of your deck, pick a card, shuffle the rest back in. Very strong supporter. Top 8, it's generally what you need is generally in the top 8, and it's so good. I think 1 should be in everybody's deck, but that's just me. As far as the stadiums go, we're going to be running 2 Force of Giant Plants, basically allowing your Pokemon, your grass Pokemon, to evolve first turn or a turn that they just came out, and just consecutive evolving. It's madness. You don't want to run too many just because of the mirror matches. You don't want to go up against, well, I mean, not really a mirror match, but going up against another superior deck, you don't really want to help them out. And as far as the other stadium, we're going to be running 2 copies of Dimension Valley, which you don't want to be running 4 of either one of these, just because you don't want to help your opponent out as much as possible. But it does come in clutch sometimes, when you have to use that finishing move, Zen Force, on something that's just gained a lot of damage counters. Pretty good. But yeah, 2-2. Low energy count, we're only running, like I said, we're running 6 grass energy, and we're running 4 psychic energy. And I know what you're thinking, this guy's crazy, this is just the worst idea in the world. Try it. It's fun. I can assure you that it's something that is going to make people scratch their heads. Above all, anything else, it is just it can be massively ruthless. Like it could just I can't even explain. Like, that's how excited I am about this deck. I'm just so hyped about it. But yeah, try it out. Build it. Hopefully, maybe it climbs up to one of those top tier decks, and it's just something that I started. Fusing rival decks together, trying to make it work. I also did a Garchomp and Mega Manectric. It worked out pretty good. I went to states with it. It got me decent place, but it was good and it wasn't. They both recycled energy, but it got to the point where it was just unnecessarily overwhelming. But besides the fact, this is the whole Serperior Mega Alakazam. Comment, subscribe, throw up the thumbs up button, share, just have fun with it, make it your own, and I will see you guys